We only need one tool for today's video, and that is a palette knife. Of course, we also need paper and paint, but as a main instrument, we won't be using any brush at all. This is the only tool we are allowed to use it. Can we create art using only palette knife? That's the question of the day, and that's the question we're going to answer right now. Okay, so this is my setting for today. Here on this side, I have all my acrylic paint. There are super cheap, affordable acrylic that I bought in Amazon, and I think it will be good just to experiment today. And that's my reference photo right there. And I have my palette knife, my water, and I'm always keeping lids to use as a mixing palette when I don't want to clean my official one. And here I just have already some gold in it, because this is what I do when I have extra paint from other project. I tend to already layer it down on other paper, and then whenever I have time, whenever I can, I just create. It is time to get started. So I first lie down my color palette, and then I start to use the knife, try to imagine how should I position the knife to get the shape that I want. The first thing I realize is that if you want to make palette knife art, you need much more paint than using a brush. I had to keep adding more and more paint when usually the little that I put on the side, it will be all I need. Instead today, I just kept adding and adding. And I try also different technique. I try to layer the palette knife on the side to gain a more thin line, or on the back to have a thicker line. But I immediately realized that control my palette knife was not that easy. I may sort of gain the shape that I had in mind, but I could not really control it, so there was not being precise at all. I do know that people have tons of palette knife at their disposal, so I know that maybe if I had also different shape palette knife, I may be able to gain different shape on the paper. But I had just one palette knife, and that what would make the challenge fun. To be honest, by this point, I was really doubting that I will be able to create something that was worth showing to you guys. But I kept on going, as always. There is an ugly stage on painting, and sometimes you have to keep pushing yourself until you get to a result that you are happy with. And what I work a lot was in layering color. I try to layer first the color that I wanted to see the most on the base, and then I went on top to create some effect of depth in my painting. And I knew already by this point that I wanted to try to cover as much as of the page as possible, because yeah, I was lucky to have a nice gold background, but that will not be on a normal paper. Here it was just some waste paint that I had left over for a previous project, and I didn't really want it to go to waste. So I usually just prep my paper if I have a tons of leftover paint. So this is a trick also for you guys. If you have a lot of leftover paint, don't just throw it away or let it dry, but place it on the paper, on your sketchbook, and then whenever you're ready, a few days after or few weeks after, go back and create something on top. It was a lovely background, but I had to create something on my own. And yeah, so I think layering helped me a lot because I knew that I could, especially for like the leaves, but also the flower, I wasn't able to create some shading. I will not create super detailed veins because I didn't have control over my knife. So I decided to play in a different way and to use a different gradient of color to create the sense of shading and depth, and to give an idea what I was actually doing, because the more I will fill the page, the less you could actually recognize what's going on right there. But this is something that you have to decide if you like the final result or not. And if it's a challenge, then maybe you're willing to try for yourself. And if you guys take on any of my challenges, I do a lot of art challenges on this channel. If you take on any of my challenges, please let me know on my Instagram. You can send me anytime a picture of your artwork and which art challenge you took on. I would be happy to share it in my social media. And yeah, let's get to the final result, shall we?